All right, welcome back to the Rogue Gun. Today, we've got what I can officially say is my dream gun killer. Yes, last night, this thing won me. I won my first competition with the Canik rival. The first competition ever in shooting for me. It was a bowling pin match at my local range. And I just had to show you this because I like to get it off screen, but this is how I came home with my final mag. There were 5 pins to hit, and I used 5 rounds. My last 3, maybe 4 rounds, this is how my mags ended up. Just 5 rounds. I have 5 shots, five pins. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm a marksman or anything like that, but I learned a lot. Apparently, I'm pretty good at shooting. I had some interesting experiences, and I'd like to share those with you. And what my future of competition is, what my future plans with this gun are. And yeah, let's get into the mix. I'm gonna go ahead and set this magazine aside because it's got some rounds in it. I don't want to keep that on the table longer than I have to, but like I said, this came home last night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds out of it, 5 pins down. And yeah, let's talk about what this Canik rival does, at least for me, and how I feel like I perform with it versus other guns. All right, so the Canik rival, there's no other way to say it. It's just a competition gun. It's interesting. So at the range I shoot at, I'm a member, and they have Staccatos to rent, and it's pretty cool to be able to rent a $2,500 gun and shoot it side by side with this. So I signed up for this bowling pin competition, really having never done a competition with no expectations other than just go out and have fun. So before, as soon as I signed up, I went to the range and I rented the Staccato, and it was really interesting because the trigger was crisp, clean. It was everything I ever dreamed, everything I ever felt when I picked one up in the store. But it was noticeably heavier than this particular pistol. It's heavier than my other Caniks. The Staccatos are still heavier than the other Caniks. But one of the things I found was, the porting and just the things that made this gun super light were the exact opposite reasons why I shot well this versus the Staccato. And let me tell you what that means. So the Staccato was heavier, it stayed on target, it did everything. But that doesn't mean this doesn't do the same thing too. So with the Canik in my hand, I guess for me the perceived recoil is kind of a back and right back to flat. Occasionally, and again, this is on me, I get a little nose wiggle side to side. So I always get back to flat, right? With the Staccato, and again, this is just, I have less experience with that gun than I do with this gun. It was almost like in going back to flat, I was like going below the target and having to lift the gun up to hit the target. So for me, it felt awkward to lose the sights going down, not side to side. So when I start losing the sights down, that's when I struggle to figure out the vertical orientation. Just something I've noticed with my shooting, not something I can't overcome with time and owning a particular firearm. But I've been shooting the Canik so long that when I purchased this, it was almost like, wow, this feels like magic. And in some ways, this Canik rival really, it just performs. It just does what it's supposed to do. It functions the way it's supposed to function. It's a full-size firearm that if you've got large hands, you like to take a nice, firm, strong, you don't want to get in slide bite. There's nothing close to my wrist. And again, like one of the things I struggle with a lot of guns is I take a high grip on the gun, and my hand tends to ride up a little bit there. I can shoot one-handed almost as well as I can shoot two-handed for that reason. But at the same time, it really makes quite a few guns unshootable, and not unshootable, but just I have to adjust my grip, which makes me a little less accurate. So that being said, I really enjoy how the rival feels in my hand. I've got quite a few older M&Ps. I haven't purchased the newer ones to compare, but the rival just feels great in my hands. So some of the take homes from my first competition, and I really, again, I'm a student of everything I do. I don't, I always want to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing, whether it's a hobby, a skill, a business, whatever it is. So I always try and learn as much as I can. I will never claim to be the best at whatever there is, just because I know there's always room for growth within myself and within the skill and the passions that I have. So to me, always seeking knowledge and experience is always my first and foremost approach to everything I do in life. So when I got there, I was just kind of taking in the moment. There was probably 30 people, 31 other guys in the room, or, at least maybe, a few people didn't show up. So we'll say 29 to 30 other people in the room. And it was a little intimidating because, I didn't know anyone there. There were kind of groups of guys hanging out, talking, but I just took it in stride. I just sat there, focused, did my thing, listened to the instructions, stayed calm. And I had this kind of surreal moment where, you're standing in line, they're putting markers in the gun to put the guns on the table. At least that's the way our event was run. And as I walk up to the table, it's mostly full, but I noticed everyone's got giant optics and staccatos and this and everything. I mean, my gun was like, in the bottom third of pricing on the table. And it was kind of interesting to see. And I'm like, listening to guys talk about, oh, they bought this and they put this and they, it's cheaper to mill this slide versus buying it. And I just didn't care. I didn't really understand. Not my thing. I just buy guns I like and I shoot them. I'm pretty simple and basic. And that's really my approach to this whole thing. So I noticed a lot of guys really, talking up other people's skill and this and that and all this. And yeah, it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to stand in the corner and figure out how this whole thing works. And I think that really served me best, just to sit quietly and observe and learn and work. So one of the things I noticed with the first round of shooting was a lot of the guys were just shooting fast. And I didn't know if they were nervous or that's just the way you were supposed to shoot. But to me, I know my gun. It's not a slow gun. It's probably not staccato fast, but it's pretty fast. So I know that I can be accurate if I acquire my target and hit the target. Dumping rounds down range is easy to do, but then my target rate, I can go from knowing I'm going to hit this to that's going to be my target. And every time I walked up to the line to look at those pins, I picked the target on each pin that I wanted to hit. So I could pick up the gun, put it on the target that I wanted to hit, and hit that target. So my approach, I felt like the first round was just to figure out my approach, right? I knew how I like to shoot. I tried to not be influenced by the way everyone else shot. And there were some fast shooters. It was quite intimidating to watch. I mean, this one dude got up there and it was like bang, 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 bang. And he probably dumped 7 to 10 rounds down range. He had 6 pins because he had an optic. If you had iron sights, you were given 5 pins. If you had optics, you were given 6 pins. And it was pretty fair throughout the match. I mean, I got beat by guys with optics with 6 pins, and I beat guys with 5 pins and iron sights. So it was a little mixed bag of both. My only 2 losses, it was 2 losses with the buyback in. My only 2 losses were the guys with optics. So it was quite an interesting, and the guys that I lost to bought back in either against me or previously. So it wasn't like the buy-in was, a way of cheating. Everyone there that thought they were good enough bought back in. And just about everyone bought in except for the people that had early losses and discouraged. So it was quite fair, quite fun. Even in the champion round, I beat the guy that hadn't lost. He bought back in, and I beat him again. So, but I'll tell you what, all of the guys were talking about their XCs and the compensators and the red dots. And one of the guys looked at me, oh, what are you shooting? I kind of chuckled. I said, I'm listening to this conversation. At this point, I'm shooting a Canik Rival, the poor man's competition gun. And everyone got a good laugh. And like, well, you're shooting pretty good. Keep it up. And I was like, appreciate it, guys. Thanks. I'm like, like in awe. I'm like, man, these dudes are fast shooters. So in my head, I'm like, stick to your game, go slow, right? So one of the things that I like, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to line this up on camera, is there's that red red dot sight. The red fiber on the front, and combine that with black sights in the back. It's quite interesting because where we were standing in the range, this thing was glowing almost as if it was a red dot. So for me, they were saying, "Oh, it's amazing you're shooting that well with iron sights." For me, it was like having a red dot because that thing was glowing like a red dot to me. And the contrast with the black, it was so easy to find. It was so quick to find, and I was last few, there was a point in time I didn't shoot for like the first hour and a half. I shot twice. I had one round I won, one I lost, waiting for my double elimination. And then I went back in for my, second elimination match, won that, and then I didn't leave the firing line till I won the competition. So a lot of people, they were like, wow, it's impressive that you can shoot that long. It's impressive that you can focus that long. But I really attribute that ability to shoot that long to the weight of this firearm, right? When it's full mag, it gets a little heavier, but because of the ported barrel, because of, the features, everything that's done to lighten some of the weight on the underside, it wasn't a burden to hold at the firing line. So there was no muscular fatigue because of this gun. And, if I was holding a Staccato or heavier gun and forced to, kind of put a little more effort and muscle into it, maybe I would have felt a little more fatigue, but I was able to just hold this and just keep shooting it and shooting it and shooting it. And again, I'm big dude, I get it. We all have different body types, but I really think that the weight of this gun allowed me to keep going. The magwell was, just more superficial because there was, no reason to speed reload or anything like that. But what I did notice was the ability to pick up that, I keep wanting to call it my red dot, but my fiber with those black sights, the ability to take my time, pick my spot on the pin, hit that spot, move on to the next target, hit that spot, move on. So it was hit, 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 hit. And it was very, very, I was able to shoot very precise with this gun. In the last round, I felt like I was really getting dialed in with this thing to the point where it didn't matter who was around me. It didn't matter what was happening. It was just hit, hit, hit. It was just dead on. I can't explain what was happening. It felt like, for you Dragon Ball Z fans, it felt like I was going Super Saiyan quietly in my head. Like I didn't really quite understand like how well I was shooting. And then after that last round, it was the double. It was the best of three. And then I think I won 2. He bought back in, and then I literally shot 5 pins down while he still had 3 standing. So he had 6 pins because he had optics. So even if he had 5 pins, I still beat him by 2 pins. So when they blew the whistle, he looked over at me. His jaw was on the ground. It was almost to say, "How? Like, how did you do that? Like, I shoot fast. I know I shoot fast, but I can't beat that." And he just kind of looked at me with this look like, what's happening? Like, that Canik runs. And I remember he said that to me. He's like, that Canik runs. Don't ever buy a Staccato. And he just kind of looked at me. And I had another guy say to me, he was like, man, you're making me lose interest in my red dot after I beat him 2 times in a row. So I'll tell you what, if you're interested in competing, you got some local competitions, you want to do some US whatever, PDA. One of the guys said I should try some of those competitions. He's competed at some of those competitions, and he said, I might have a chance. So who knows? We'll see. I think there's something happening next week locally. But anyway, this thing runs, man. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. I would like to get a Staccato. I just cannot justify a Staccato. So yeah, I'm excited. First competition in the books. Granted, it was only bowling pin. Quite a few guys. As far as I'm concerned, I personally think I beat the best guys that were in the room. There were a couple guys that lost in double elimination, and that I beat the guys that beat them, and it was just a good feeling to be at that line, have the focus, have everything working on all cylinders. Learned a lot about shooting, a lot about how to pick my targets, a lot about how to think under pressure. I will say there was those, as an athlete, that's someone that's played sports. There's that ability to zone out and focus in. If you can find that focus in shooting and really, just kind of quiet everything out that you don't need to hear, that's not useful to the moment. I think shooting may be for you. And that's one of the things that I really have always liked. When I'm at the firing line, I'm shooting, that moment is all that it can exist, because a firearm is a firearm. It's a fun, respected hobby, but it's also extremely dangerous. And I think that's what really draws me into it, is when you're shooting, there is nothing else other than that moment that can exist for you, because you need to pay attention to what you're doing. There's nothing else that can exist. So even though we all had hearing protection on, I don't think I heard anyone else's shots. I tuned it out because everyone else shot at a pace I wasn't shooting at, but I felt like I was shooting more accurately, and my accuracy meant I shot faster. So that allowed me to relax in tuning everyone out. But ultimately, it's not the gun that matters. Well, I think it does matter. The Canik Rival does matter. I'm not going to say that, because this thing runs. Whew, it runs. But take your time, focus, find the gun that works for you. And it does not have to be a $2,500 Staccato. It can be, I don't know, what is this? A sub $1,000 competition pistol. So go check it out, man. Shoot, have some fun. I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to challenging myself on another level of shooting. I'm looking forward to kind of getting in the mix of things, seeing what this Canik Rival can do. So thanks for tuning in to the Row Gun. Hope you guys found this one fun, useful. Again, I'm new to competition. Apparently, the feedback that I got was I should be shooting in a lot more competition. So I will. Let's see what happens. Hopefully this works out well. To me, shooting is just shooting. My goal is to shoot same hole targets in the paper, and I kind of practice to do that. Apparently that isn't something that people practice for, because I talked to a couple of guys and they were looking at me like I was crazy. Like, are you doing that? Like, I'm not doing that. So I don't know. I'm really, again, I'm new to shooting sports, but I'm not new to shooting. So I hope you enjoy the beginning of this journey in my life, because I had a lot of fun last night, and apparently I can compete on a pretty high level, and I didn't know it. So we'll see what happens. I may get mollywopped in the next one, but who knows? It'll be fun learning. Hope you guys have a great day. Check out the Canik Rival. I'm going to tell you, it is. Am I allowed to say it? It's a Staccato killer. Should I just say that to end the video? Canik Rival, Staccato killer. At least last night it was. We'll see what happens in the future. All right, the Row Gun out. Have a great, wonderful day. Stay having fun. Get out there and get shooting. Go have a competition. Start a competition. Pick some pins up and shoot them down. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.